Hey there, I'm Dustin from DB Builds. Welcome to my really cold shop. Today I've got these two nice old cutting boards. My mother asked me to refinish these for her before the holidays. As you can see, they're not in the best of condition. So I'm going to run them through the joiner, through the sander, do some hand sanding, and put them back together. Let's get to it. Let's start with the board that's still in one piece. First, I've removed the rubber feet and put them in a safe place. Both boards have rather large juice grooves in them. I expected to be doing a lot of hand sanding because of this. I quickly realized that there had to be a better way to do it. I had some wire brush attachments that I'd used to clean up live edge projects before, and it turns out these were perfect for cleaning out the grooves. I used a variety of shapes to get into various angles and curves on the board. For the flat edges of the board, I just used a sanding block. If you have the space for it and you work with a lot of cutting boards, I highly recommend getting a drum sander. After no more than 15 minutes, I had a perfectly flat and clear surface on both sides of the board. This can, of course, be done with an orbital sander if you don't have a drum sander, but it's really fun to watch it go through the drum sander. I was surprised by how different this board looked with its finish stripped off. I have no idea what kind of wood this is. Leave a comment below if you can tell. With the finish stripped off and finally down to bare wood, I did some hand sanding at 150 and 220 grit to smooth out the grooves. Since I keep 120 grit paper on the drum sander, I sanded up to 220 with the orbital sander. With the larger board ready for finish, I turned my attention to the smaller board. I went straight to the wire brushes this time to clean out these grooves. Now the break between the board halves wasn't totally clean, so I ran each side through the jointer. I made sure to run them with opposite sides against the fence to make sure any inconsistencies in the angle of the bed canceled themselves out. One side was in worse shape than the other, which meant I had to run it through an extra few times. That left a big recess at the top extremely uneven, as you can see here. So even though I lost a little surface area by doing this, I ran the other end through a few extra times until the recess matched on both sides. Unfortunately, all this extra milling all but eliminated the center juice groove. I used a 1/2-inch cove bit with a bearing on my trim router to recut the juice groove on both sides before gluing them back together. With the odd shape of the cutting board, a band clamp seemed to be the best option to keep it together, though I did use a pair of bar clamps to make sure both sides stayed flat after being clamped up. With both sides of the board reunited, it was time to go back to the drum sander. The sticker on this board claimed it was pure teak. I was just excited to see that it appeared to have a much more natural finish than the previous board. After once again sanding the details by hand and a quick once-over with the orbital sander to clean up the face and edges, it was time for oil. Anytime I'm working with a cutting board, I finish it with food-grade mineral oil. I apply it liberally, let it soak in for about 24 hours, and then reapply again the next day. Let's just sit back and enjoy this process. oil is absorbed, I wipe on a blend of beeswax and mineral oil to further protect the board. I also love how the wax adds an extra sheen to both of the boards. Alright, so that completes the cutting boards. I'm happy with how they came out. This one was a little bit of extra work, doing the extra groove in the middle, but you can see it looks almost as good as new. I love the color on it. It's nice and smooth with the beeswax. This one actually, I found out, I knew this was my mother's cutting board, so I figured it was probably 20, 30 years old. I found out this was actually my grandmother's cutting board. So the fact that it's got some new life in it and is probably somewhere along the lines of 45 to 50 years old and looks probably as nice as the day it was bought is pretty special. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something or just enjoyed watching these cutting boards come back to life. I'm on Instagram at dbbuilds, and I've got some other videos here on YouTube. Please stop by, check them out. Feel free to subscribe, leave some comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And thanks again. I'll see you next time.